The primary reason that I opted for the GRE was because I was looking to apply for STEM designated programs offered by business schools in the US. These programs are offered in collaboration with their engineering schools, and GRE is more widely accepted.
In comparison to the CAT, GMAT is an adaptive paper, and whereas a CAT you just have to choose between the questions that are given.
So I followed a section-wise strategy. So I worked on my weak and strong concepts within each section. I worked on my weak concepts first, and towards the end I started concentrating on my strong concepts.
Just giving mock tests won't help. So analyzing was a big factor which played a huge role in my GMAT score.
I'm Priya. I was born and brought up in Amravati, Maharashtra, and I completed my graduation in computer science engineering from the University of Pune. After my graduation, I worked as a software engineer with Persistent Systems Limited for around 4 years, and then joined BITSOM as a member of the founding class.
So my name is Yamuna. I'm from Chennai. I pursued chemical engineering during my undergrads, and then I went on to pursue journalism. From there, I ventured into academic publishing. I worked as a journal administrator and then as a journal manager for around 2 years, and then I am here doing an MBA.
Myself, Sushil Bhatt. Before coming to BITSOM, I was working with a company called Leveram Life Sciences for 5 years, and there I was leading a team of 35 people under me. I was the head sales marketing.
My name is Avantika, and I graduated in 2021 from NMIMS Mumbai, where I did a BBA and I specialized in marketing. And now, after my gap year, I'm pursuing my MBA here.
So both the GMAT and GRE are very unique exams, and unlike any exams that we're used to giving as Indian students. And the primary reason that I opted for the GRE was because I was looking to apply for STEM designated programs offered by business schools in the US. And these programs are offered in collaboration with their engineering schools, and GRE is more widely accepted. So that was primarily the reason. And at the same time, I took the GRE alongside of work, and I felt that I would be better able to prepare for GRE alongside of work. So that's the reason I took the GRE.
So my first reason for pursuing GRE was that it places a lot of emphasis on your verbal abilities, which I believed was my strong suit. And my second reason was that a lot of B schools as well as other institutes have started to accept GRE as part of their admission criteria. So I believed that this would widen my scope even if I wanted to pursue a MIM or any other STEM related course.
To be very specific, I was not very sure, but initially I thought of USB schools because GMAT is an international exam and you get a head start to any B school across. It probably takes 8,000 B schools take GMAT. So I was exploring USB schools initially, but in the later part of my research, I realized there can be options in India or Asia also.
So for me, I was not looking at going abroad. The GMAT exam for me was more for comfort than compared to the CAT exam, and I was exploring these schools within India itself. So that's how BITSOM came in to the picture.
There are three major areas in GRE. One is the quantitative section, the verbal section, and the AWS section. So the way I approached is that I started with the verbal first, even though I was confident about it. But GRE requires you to know words that you don't use so much in your everyday language. That is not something you can do in a day or two. So I started with doing my words. You have a lot of third-party resources to help you with that. Then you start reading so that you get used to the reading comprehension type of questions in the GRE, and that's how I prepped for my verbal. For the quantitative, as Indian students, we are quite comfortable with the level of mathematics that is expected in the GRE, but you practice still because accuracy is key. You are targeting that perfect score and you want to be as accurate as possible. At the same time, one thing that I tried with my quant was that if I'm getting an answer right, I didn't just stop at that. I would think whether there was a faster way to solve it so that I could save time. And since the test is adaptive, the questions towards the end are tougher, and I wanted to save up on time for that. So that was primarily my strategy while prepping for the GRE.
So I think GMAT is different in terms of one being English for sure, because English, what we are used to speaking, is usually British English, whereas GMAT being a US-based exam, the English is a little different, so that takes a little time to get used to, and you have to keep practicing that aspect. For me, quant was a sort of a weak spot, and so I had to practice quant a lot more. And I started prepping in August of 2021, and I finally gave my exam in February. And I think that duration, I was able to get a lot of material in terms of what tricks I should be using for an RC passage, what kind of quant I'm comfortable with, what I'll probably leave on an exam. In comparison to the CAT, GMAT is an adaptive paper, and whereas a CAT you just have to choose between the questions that are given. So I think there you're able to judge a little better what you're doing, what you're not doing right, and I think that aspect worked for me.
I was in the zone of competitive exams from past 5-6 years, and I was constantly in touch with the competitive exams, and that sort of helped me for preparing for GMAT also. First and foremost, I gave a mock test to understand where are my weaknesses and strengths, and after analyzing my weakness and strength, I realized I could easily target 750 plus. So I charted down a timetable for next 45 days, and second step was I gathered the prep material, and third was giving a lot of mock tests. So I gave around 15 to 16 mock tests, and adding to that, just giving mock tests won't help. So analyzing was a big factor which played a huge role in my GMAT score.
So I followed a section-wise strategy. So I worked on my weak and strong concepts within each section. I worked on my weak concepts first, and towards the end, I started concentrating on my strong concepts.
So my strategy for mocks was that giving the whole thing, like giving the 4.5-hour exam with the AW assessment as well. And I made sure that I left the 2 power preps very closer to my actual GRE date so that I could use them as a benchmark and see how I was performing closer to the test date.
So I believe that GRE is a practice-based test rather than a test of intelligence, honestly. So initially my mock scores were not that great, but once you keep practicing, I took up a lot of timed test. So initially I was not able to complete my mock assessments on time, and then with practice it eventually got better. So I think that timing is a key to a perfect score in GRE.
I was looking for STEM designated programs offered by business schools in the USA primarily, and when BITSOM came up, the value proposition that BITSOM was offering was very aligned with what I was looking for. I wanted to study from a certain kind of faculty from the best schools in the world, and BITSOM was bringing that home for me. At the same time, I was keen on a longer duration program. Usually the programs that offer GRE are either an year long or 9-month long abroad as well. BITSOM brought both of these things that I wanted together, and I was very excited by that prospect, which is why I chose BITSOM.
So when I decided to pursue a master's after working for a few years, I wanted to focus on the quality of education. There were 3 reasons why I decided to apply. The first reason was that it's a brand new school, which meant that it had a lot of leverage with its curriculum. If you check the curriculum of BITSOM, it has a lot of new elements to it, which is missing in other B schools in the country right now. And the second one was that it actually brings you the best of faculty from around the world, and it is also provided to you at a fraction of a cost if you compare with other B schools. Third reason is that BITSOM actually places a lot of emphasis on diversity. If you take my background, I worked as a journalist, and my profile does not fit into the regular engineering and MBA profile. So coming from a journalism background, I had my own set of apprehensions, and I did not know whether I'd fit in a B school. But when I interacted with the admissions committee, they were extremely encouraging, and this prompted me to consider BITSOM for my MBA.
There were 3 major components what I was looking in a B school. First was the B school should have a 2-year program. The reason for 2-year MBA was so that I can immerse myself well into the program. Secondly, I could have an in-depth peer-to-peer learning. And the third was the school should be in a city where the city is very much near to the industry. So these were 3 broad criteria for my selection for an MBA B school.
So I think for me it was a little different in terms of the fact that when I'm looking, the 2-year aspect definitely played a role. Other than that, I think the batch size that BITSOM offered was comparatively smaller to a lot of other B schools that I was looking at. And I think that is very important because of the personalized attention you're getting. So there is a mentor program that you will have, and those mentors will be able to give you more attention. The fact that it's in Mumbai definitely played an important role because I have been living in Mumbai and I did my undergrad also in Mumbai itself. And overall, I think the electives that they had to offer, the 5 electives that they are offering, I think that was a mix of different aspects and not a clear-cut journey that you just have to pick a finance or a marketing, and you can probably mix and match your subjects. And I think that's what I was looking for.
While deciding for BITSOM, I had this global exposure thing in mind. So LBS was really exciting for me. So we went last month, September, and we had a program very specially curated for BITSOM that was called Global Perspectives for Leadership. There are 3 big major components of the program. First is we were hands-on working with the companies which were based out of London. So I was working with a company called Big Exchange. So it was a very good experience working with the founder itself, and the founder came to our campus, directly interacting with them. The whole exposure was really humbling. We were allowed to meet the larger LBS community, the faculty, and we were allowed to access the resources, LBS resources. LBS being one of the top 5 B schools in the world, it was again a very great exposure. When you travel to a new country, there are a lot of new challenges and experiences which are there. Traveling makes you more aware about things, makes you more aware about the circumstances the country is going with, and as a leader, that is very important as a learning.
I feel that as a writer, it helped me, it gave me the time to improve on my communication skills, both written as well as verbal. In an MBA, I think the world is moving towards this place where we are placing a lot of emphasis on empathetic communication within teams, in organizations, while communicating your vision and mission statements and so on. So this has definitely helped me in my MBA study.
One thing that you pick up in engineering, and even after I was working as a software developer, is problem solving skills and this ability to move very quickly from one language to another if you're coding. So that kind of has helped me in my MBA, because MBA education requires you to be very agile, learn things very quickly. There are a lot of subjects you're expected to learn about in a span of 18 to 21 months. So I think that is one skill that has helped me, and how I plan on weaving them together. I am very passionate about technology. I want to continue working in technology and combining that with my business education that I've gained from the school. So hopefully something there after MBA.
If I was to give one mantra to succeed in GRE, it would be to start your preparation very early so that you have a lot of time to practice.
So in order to get the score that you're targeting for your GRE, be consistent in your prep and do not fear about the verbal section. That is something that quite a few Indian students do because it's intimidating. Also, don't mug up your words if you can. There are a few great apps out there. Vocabulary.com is one of these apps that help you go to the etymology of the words. So, and it also tells you the usage examples for these words. So kind of try to make your prep interesting. A few resources that can help you with your verbal prep are reading articles from websites that are not very simply written, like Arts and Letters Daily, the science section of The Economist or The New Yorker. These can really help you getting into the zone of solving your RCs. And for quantitative, you can look at Manhattan Prep. It has a lot of good questions that help you develop that accuracy and speed as you go along. Keep practicing, be consistent, and develop that mindset, and you should be good to go.